Right. Good morning, everybody. This is Cody Cochran here with MBSI WAV Business Development. We just want to thank everybody for taking the time to hop on the call today as we kind of wind down into the holiday season here. So obviously year-end, lots of distractions, everybody trying to close things up. But again, we do appreciate your time. So MBSI WAV, we're very proud to present this ePMP 3000 webinar to you as the only master ePMP distributor in Canada. We do keep stock in both Alberta and Ontario of the product. Just a couple of housekeeping things here before I do pass the mic on to get into the meat and potatoes here of the new platform. The webinar is being recorded. And it will be uploaded to our social media outlets shortly after we're all done here today. So if you have to step away or if you have a colleague or anyone that you think would be interested in the material, please just point them to our YouTube channel, LinkedIn page, Facebook, etc. And you'll see postings to the recording that will get up on our YouTube channel a little later today. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them in the chat window as we move along. We'll most likely address the questions, comments at the end of the webinar after Sakid's gone through all the material. If the chat window isn't automatically opening for you, there is an icon at the bottom of the window to open it. So please just try to track that down for the time being. We have a little bit of a bonus since it is Christmas season. So please do pay attention during the webinar. As we get to the completion, we will be asking a question that will be covered in the session here today. The first person to correctly answer it will get a $100 Amazon gift card. So if you have any last-minute Christmas shopping, fingers crossed it would actually arrive with all the strikes and whatnot. But we're certainly happy to be offering that as a giveaway. Just one more note, if everybody could just keep their mics muted during the presentation, we'd certainly appreciate it, just so there's no background noise or any echoing going on there. Just as a couple of tidbits, so Cambium has announced recently that the ePMP 3000 platform is shipping. So we're expecting our first order, just with the holidays and whatnot causing a few delays. We're hoping to have everything in-house in stock by mid-January at the earliest. And again, we are accepting pre-orders on the entire platform, so if you are interested, please contact your rep here at MBSI WAV, or you can always just hit up the sales channel using the link on our website. So that being said, so presenting today on behalf of Cambium Networks is Sakid Ahmed. Sakid is the VP of ePMP business for Cambium Networks, and he is based in Chicago, Illinois, right close to Cambium's HQ. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the mic over to Sakid and let him enlighten us on the new platform.
All right, thanks, Cody. Welcome, everyone. Excited here to start talking about ePMP 3000. Let me just share my desktop, make sure everybody can see my screen. We don't want to do a presentation without a screen sharing. All right. Okay. So as I was saying, as Cody, thanks for the introduction, Cody. And ePMP 3000, we're super excited to talk about this, and I think this is just our second webinar on this topic that I'm doing. Hopefully we can get some good information across to the audience, the technical aspects, some of the test results we're seeing, a bit of the roadmap, both from a software and hardware perspective. As always, questions are welcome. You can ask them throughout the session. You can put it in the chat window, and between MBSI WAV and Cambium, we'll make sure if we don't get all the answers today, we pass on the answers via MBSI to you via email and whatnot. So please ask as many questions as you like. With that, let me start off by giving a little overview on ePMP 3000. You'll notice we call it this Generation 3. Assuming that most of the audience is familiar with ePMP, but maybe there's a few that are not, I'll give a quick summary of how we came about the 3000 platform. As most of you know, we had ePMP 1000, which was essentially a platform with affordability as the key driver. But along with that, we were the first platform at this price range that offered frequency reuse via GPS synchronization. Then we brought in things like scalability. You could add multiple subscribers without suffering your performance. But the whole story on the Gen 1, what I call ePMP 1000, was really about solving the self-interference problem. So working GPS sync with frequency reuse, transmit power control, a TDD scheduler with fixed downlink coupling ratios, a bunch of different things under the hood created this Gen 1 ePMP 1000, all about self-interference. And as we move forward, we looked at solving the problem as best as we could on external interference, and thus ePMP 2000 was born. And with 2000, we brought in everything we had on the 1000, but then added a dynamic filtering, which helped with neighboring channel interference rejection, as well as a uplink beam steering antenna. And that uplink beam steering antenna helped with creating narrow beam patterns in the uplink to reduce the impact of interference that typically happens towards the uplink. So Gen 1, Gen 2, more or less self-interference plus external interference. So naturally, the market asked about higher throughput. Solving interference is great, but we need more performance. And this is where the 3000 evolved. And to some extent, as most of you are aware, the way we are able to do an affordable platform on the subscriber access point side is we do follow the IEEE 802.11 standards that's being driven by the Wi-Fi industry. And our secret sauce is taking the system on a chip, the very powerful processors with a lot of feature set that's designed for the Wi-Fi indoor market, and figuring out a way to put our proprietary solution on top of it and make it a very robust, reliable outdoor fixed wireless broadband solution. So as you follow that track, 11AC is the latest and greatest. Of course, there's 11AX, not too distant future. But 11AC had two flavors, a Wave 1 and a Wave 2. A lot of vendors out there had products in the Wave 1 solution. And what Wave 1 did was essentially give you 256 modulation, higher modulation, and 80 megahertz channel. So yeah, we actually purposely avoided coming out with a product with Wave 1. And the reason behind that is really all about the multi-user MIMO. As you can see from Cambium's overall PMP approach and strategy, we believe that taking advantage of multiple transmitters and receivers is the wave of the future. This is how you get better spectral efficiency and get higher capacity at the base station, which everybody's requesting. So thus 3000 was born, and it is the key differentiation here is the multi-user MIMO. What you see on the right side is a picture of the access point, which hopefully some of you will get in your hands soon. You see the four antenna ports on the top. What you don't see here is in the bottom cover, if you pop that open, there's a GPS sync port where you can connect the hockey puck external antenna. You can plug in two more ports with the beam steering antenna from 2000. But all in all, this product gives you this same frequency reuse from ePMP 1000, the dynamic filtering, uplink beam steering from 2000, and then brings in 4x4 MU-MIMO, 256 QAM modulation, 80 megahertz channel support. And naturally, as these radios are becoming more sophisticated, the requirements for getting to 64 QAM, 256 QAM has gotten a little better. It's just a more sensitive system on a chip that the Wi-Fi industry has created to deal with it. And the last thing on this slide that I wanted to highlight is bottom right, as well as the one picture right next to it, is the 4x4 MU-MIMO antenna. And I'm anticipating this is going to be a very popular question, but today we only support the 4x4 MU-MIMO antenna from Cambium, because what you see inside the antenna with those two 90-degree sectors, there's exact separations we have to calculate to optimize our ability to do grouping and do MU-MIMO. So this is the product that's supported today, but in the future we will have support for split sector, third-party antennas, horn antennas, et cetera, et cetera. Moving ahead, a little bit of a marketing slide, but I do want to speak to it and kind of highlight that you could potentially get some significant throughput improvements with the 3000. And as we look through it, Getting MU-MIMO is going to be the easiest thing. When you look at 256 QAM, it's a likely scenario, but as everybody on this call is aware, it really depends on the signal-to-noise ratio, RSSI levels, etc. So it does become challenging. So I kind of categorize these as most likely, likely, and in my humble opinion, 80 megahertz in a point-to-multipoint system is going to be highly unlikely. Now, having said that, there may be micropop type scenarios where you create very small cell radius, and you put one of these guys up, and maybe you do run at 80 megahertz in less than a kilometer, and you can get away with it. So the promises is there, but as a vendor presenting the solution, we also want to convey what is likely and least likely that we should count on. Okay, a little bit more on the 3000. Fundamentally, you've got you can potentially double the sector throughput in a 20 and 40 megahertz channel. 80 megahertz is obviously not available in our current ePMP 2000 and whatnot, so therefore it's just a new solution. You're going to get the 256 QAM 5.6 coding rate, which you'll get in 20 megahertz as well, which you'll see is missing in other Wave 1 based products. Gives you a little bit more performance than what you see in a Wave 1, and this is outside of anything to do with multi-user MIMO. The dynamic filtering will continue, which is essentially allowing to have better performance with on a tower with neighboring radios, large dishes, and whoever else is transmitting and bleeding over. We're able to block that out. The uplink beam steering, that's the hardware support is there. We just have to get some software updates to bring that in a nearby release. But it will work very similarly to the 2000 in terms of creating narrower beams. There is an SFP port on this thing, which we added, thinking about all the FM towers and noise from radio towers that impact the Ethernet. I'm excited to say that there is a real-time spectrum analyzer. This is also long awaited, and for the first time, we will not need you to do Java and security settings to look at the spectrum. It's actually on the radio UI itself. Something I don't mention in the slide, but along with the spectrum analyzer, we have another tool that you'll get to see. Temporarily, we call it a Cambium discovery tool, but more or less it goes and looks at other interferers on your channel as well as all the spectrum that you're scanning, and show you MAC addresses and RSSI and things like that of the guilty parties. So the combination of the real-time spectrum analyzer and this little tool starts to give you a better view and understanding of what interference is happening, and etc. I do want to highlight a few things on the bottom right-hand side. What you see in the picture is pretty simple. Today, most systems are out there doing MIMO, meaning 2 chains, sending us different data to a radio. Now you can imagine being able to do that to 2 subscribers at the same time. I have Google Map images and requirements and getting MU-MIMO in a few slides later on, but fundamentally I just wanted to convey the concept that it's very simple. You essentially are trying to get transmission going to 2 subscribers at the same time. Bottom right hand is something I wanted to highlight, is that as the product is out there, or goes out there, you'll hear things about backwards, forwards compatibility. But fundamentally, an ePMP 3000, if it's speaking to a legacy subscriber module, nothing is really happening other than the fact that it can communicate, pass data, etc. There is no advantage in the downlink that you see from a 3000 speaking to a legacy subscriber. However, in the uplink, now the 3000 AP does have 4 receive chains, which means you're getting a 3 dB additional gain in the uplink because of the 4 receive chains. So even that is even seen with the legacy SM. Then, in the same 3000 AP, if you happen to have one or a bunch of Force 300 AC subscribers, but you're not really doing MU-MIMO, in a single user transmit mode, you actually gain a 3 dB additional benefit from beamforming. As I showed in the last picture, the bottom right-hand corner of this antenna is essentially 2 90-degree sectors overlapping with each other. So we're able to beamform to a single user even when we're not doing MU-MIMO, and does give it another 3 dB of additional gain. And then last but not least, the most important aspects is the fact that we can do MU-MIMO to 2 users simultaneously, or MIMO to 2 users simultaneously. So what I wanted to convey is a few extra things. While we focus big on MU-MIMO, you are getting uplink gain improvements because of what we call maximum ratio combining MRC on the 4 receive chains, regardless of what flavor of subscriber you have. If you go look at the downlink, independent of MU-MIMO with a single user transmission, you're getting that 3 dB additional gain. As well as the things like improved coding such as LDPC and stuff that's in the AC standard that we take advantage of. All of that packages up to give you better performance. Okay, a little bit into how does it work. This is actually a map from a customer here in the Chicago area, just north of our offices, a WISP named eVergent, where we did some trials. And what he has here is a 90-degree sector with 6 different Force 300-25s. What you see are some numbers here with the 48 degrees and azimuth of 5, 11, 43 degrees. The summary of this, the most important takeaway for the audience, is that when you're trying to achieve MU-MIMO in a 90-degree sector, we're essentially able to group subscribers that have a delta of anywhere from 10 to 30 degrees or 50 to 70 degrees. As you look at your 90-degree sectors and you start imagining that you split the sector in 3 different sub-chunks, that chunk 1 can now group subscribers with chunk 3 and chunk 2, etc., etc. And it really all boils down to the angle separation between the subscribers. We don't want customers to think too much into this, because the base station, the AP itself, will figure out how to group. But as we engaged in our beta customers and trials, a lot of questions came up, and what we learned the hard way is that as we engaged, in some cases customers ended up putting 2 subscribers right next to each other and saying, hey, how come I'm not getting my MU-MIMO? So the end message here is the more diverse your deployment, the higher the likelihood that we can pair up subscribers and do MU-MIMO. And naturally, deployments tend to be not right next to each other. You always have other subscribers in the deployment. A bit deeper dive into this shows you what you see here are your signals, and what you take away from here is that when you look at the green buttons, that essentially says that, you know, a customer 5 over here at any given time can be grouped with 4, 2, and 1. So that's a pretty nice, or I should say easy method to group, that you can have up to 4 subscribers potentially doing MU-MIMO. Customer 3 and customer 6 are not able to because they're too close. 3 and 6 with 5, it's just too close. So that's, again, this is all under the hood. It all happens automatically. The main message is deploy as you would normally and watch the traffic, watch the link tests, and enjoy the benefits of MU-MIMO. From that actual deployment, and this is slightly older data, we have some better numbers, but just wanted to showcase something. What you see in the top section, as you look at these customers, you've got link test results, average downlink of 93 meg. This is all 20 megahertz, 7525. See 93 meg downlink, 26 meg uplink, etc., etc. And then what you see in the below table is that customer 5 is repeated 3 times, because customer 5 is now being grouped with customer 4, and you're running a link test, and now your AP capacity is up to 173 meg. It's compared to 89 meg. And then you group it again with customer 2 and customer 1, and then customer 6 is grouped with 4, 2, and 1. Again, this is all happening under the hood, not something as a customer you have to worry about. All you need to do is go to the wireless link test page, and you'll see, as you select a subscriber, in a separate drop-down menu, it will show you who else you can group to. And that's how you test it. But fundamentally, if you deploy, you see the benefits. Okay, Moving ahead to another favorite topic of ours, which is this compatibility. If you happen to have 1,000 or 2,000 APs, the way we defined backwards compatibility is that if you put an ePMP 3000 AP at the tower, but you do not replace any subscribers, you have to upgrade all the subscribers to a new software as well as the AP, and that gives you that backwards compatibility. And what we define as forwards compatibility is that if you happen to have a 2000 AP and you deployed some new Force 300 based products, now everything gets software upgraded and the 2000 is speaking to, let's just say, the future subscriber. So it's like forward compatibility. This compatibility mode, you'll see there's a button in the GUI when you receive your product that says enable backwards compatibility. We are not releasing this officially and commercially just yet. It's still under a beta umbrella. And part of the reason is our focus has been really to get MoveMyMo stable and work through the 3000 platform challenges. The compatibility does work, but because we have customers all around the globe with hundreds of subscribers, if not thousands, we want to cook and bake the compatibility mode a little longer to make sure we address any issues on the network before we go commercial with this. Okay, a little bit on the release planning. This is important as well. What you will receive the product with is a official release 4.3. It will have MoveMyMo support. It will have compatibility to the 300-25 and 16 subscribers that we're launching. Today it will have 20 megahertz support. 40 megahertz and 80 megahertz is disabled. We're working through some kinks on that front. We already have answers for it and a solution, which we'll put in 4.3.1, which will come out right before the holidays. So as you get the product, look for new releases on the website. It may be available as beta, but if you wanted to play with 20 or a 4080, you could do that. SFP, GPS sync support, the spectrum analyzer, and then the beta supports of forwards compatibility. As we move forward, things get interesting. We were going to continue to enhance, fix any issues that you report or that we know about. We bring in 4080 megahertz. Then in early Q1, we start working towards QoS, MIR, having support for other types of antennas to do MoveMyMo. We're also going to look at changing the downlink uplink ratio and giving a little bit more time to the uplink, so potentially a new downlink uplink ratio. And as 2019 proceeds, we start looking at things like committed information rate, dynamic channel switching, which would allow you to have 80 megahertz of the AP and let the AP decide which subscriber it will do 22, 42, or 82, all depend on the environment. We're also looking at things around traffic shaping as well as fast DFS. Bottom left-hand corner is things that I want to highlight is that we do have some challenges in the uplink throughput in really high interference environment. We have some solutions for it already in the works. We hope to get this improvement into 4.3.1 as well as the release in Q2, but it's just something I wanted to highlight. MIR is something that a lot of customers would want. We're working hard on that to get it out in Q1, but it's not available in the 4.3 official. And as I mentioned before, the 40 and 80 megahertz is right now disabled. Last but not least, when you try to do something like forwards compatibility and you want to upgrade the Force 200, Force 190, Force 180 type subscribers, I would ask you to request the image from Cambium directly, as we're still doing this in a controlled beta environment. And then a little bit on the last slide here, which is sort of the hardware roadmap. The top two left products, 300-25 and 16, are what's shipping today. Immediately after that, in Q1 and early Q2 most likely, we're going to be launching this 2x2 access point that will have GPS as well as a 2x2 non-GPS high-gain subscriber working with third-party antennas. In this case, it specifically meets the form factors to work with the twist port adapter and an RF element horn antenna. And then as you go further along in 2019, we're looking to do a 20 dBi flat panel subscriber module, which takes us away from our typical dish design but less weight, less volumetric weight actually on the 20 dBi, and we think it has a place between our 25 and 16 dBi product. There's also a 13 dBi product where we're looking at. I doubt in rural America or Canada that's going to be much of a play, but I can see other applications such as street pole, short haul, CCTV type backhaul application for that product. And then last but not least, we're also engaged on working on a MUMIMO horn antenna, very much a micropop play. It's not going to be a super high gain product, but it's designed with all the requirements in mind for ePMP 3000 in terms of the separation in the two antennas, and it's going to be a 60 and a 90 degree product. Okay, I believe that is my last slide, and we can open this up to some Q&A. And let's see if I can get the chat window up. The questions are starting to come in. Okay, let's see. Ryan had a question, will elevated subscribers talk to an ePMP 3000? Yes, the plan is for an elevated subscriber to talk to ePMP 3000. We have a slight issue on the licensing front, transferring the licenses, so we're keeping that out of the first release, but we're working actively on that to bring that support in. Okay, Ryan, I am showing your screen. So you had another question about DFS. DFS, more or less on our side, from a product perspective, DFS is in good shape, but we're really just waiting for a slot with the regulatory bodies to go in and demonstrate it. So early Q1 is when we expect DFS. Elevate. When will Elevate come? I do want to highlight, though, for everyone's sake, that an elevated unit from the 11N world talking to a 3000, other than the MRC gain in the uplink receive side, you're not going to get MUMIMO or any of that. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that. But Elevate, we expect that in a Q1 release that I showed in early February, mid-February, we can bring in the Elevate support is when we think we can do that. It's working today, but we have a couple of bugs we wanted to address before we do that. Any other questions? Let's see. Oops. Okay. Maybe give it a few more minutes for other questions.
Just while we wait for anybody else with any questions, comments, so we did have some folks jump on a little bit after we did our housekeeping review. So again, we are going to be asking a question that was covered in the webinar here, and we will accept the first answer via chat. So if everybody could just make sure you get your chat windows ready, and then we'll make sure to give you a heads up here when we ask the question. So we will be giving away a $100 Amazon gift card, which we will just do digitally. So once we have our winner, we'll sync up and make sure we get that emailed off to you. So we'll just leave the floor open here for a few more seconds, and then if nobody else chimes in, then we'll go on to our skill testing question. Okay, I haven't seen anything else come in, so I guess we will move on. And please do feel free to chime in if you do have any questions before we close up here. So with that being said, so we're ready to do our question here. So it is the ePMP 3000 based on the 802.11n, the 802.11ac Wave 1, or the 802.11ac Wave 2 chipsets? Submit your answers now.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like we got Lauren is our big winner here. He chimed in pretty quick, and there's about 5 more folks that came in just right behind him. So thanks everybody for participating there. So Lauren, Nicole, our marketing coordinator, will be getting in touch with you to reward you. So thank you very much. Again, thanks for taking the time, everybody, to hop on. Thank you, Sakid, for taking time just to, enlighten all of us up here in Canada on the platform. We know we got some pre-orders in. We have a lot of people really, really buzzing about this product, and it's really going to be a game changer, we think. So I guess with that being said, we will close up here. So again, if you have any questions, comments, Sakid had his info there on one of the slides, and feel free to reach out to the sales team here at MBSI WAV with any questions, or if you need a pricing or anything of that sort, we're certainly happy to help you. So that being said, if we don't personally speak to any of you before the holiday season, please make it a safe and happy one. Enjoy with your family, friends, etc., and hopefully everybody gets a little R&R. So happy holidays from all of us here at MBSI WAV and Cambium Networks. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks.